Well, it was a busy week for the IRS, facing a federal judge over why Congress wasn't told they lost 2 years of emails from Lois Lerner and 6 other officials. Meantime, our IRS chief John Koskinen instructed to hand over whatever emails they might have left. And the chair of the investigating committee says the Justice Department needs to take action against Lerner now for her refusal to answer questions on the targeting of conservative groups. Listen.
Until the Justice Department actually does a criminal investigation, hopefully with a special prosecutor, the American people aren't going to believe for a moment that, in fact, nobody's at fault here. This was just an accident. Some rogue people in Cincinnati, as Lois Lerner and the president would have had you believe.
Julie Roginski is a former political advisor to New Jersey Senator Frank Lautenberg and a Fox News contributor. And David Avella is the president of GoPack. All right, this story is just not going to go away, Julie, as much as I believe that the administration may want it to kind of simmer out. What's going to happen when these emails come from John Koskinen? Which ones is he going to come up with?
You know, I don't know, but I said months ago that they needed to do a special prosecutor. I'm happy to hear Darrell Issa is willing to relinquish the gavel of grandstanding and hand it over to somebody who may be a little less more impartial than he is. I'm okay with the special prosecutor. Actually, I go further. I would, if they're so concerned about getting to the bottom of this, they may actually want to give Lois Lerner immunity, because Lois Lerner is a bureaucrat, right? So if they really want to find out what happened, give her immunity and see what else she turns up. It may be that the buck stopped with her. It may be that nobody else is implicated, and that's the chance they have to take. But why not do that?
Well, David, it is interesting why that has not happened, you know, why they decided not to give her immunity. And what do you think about the fact that your colleague here says yep to an independent prosecutor?
Well, if we had a Justice Department that wouldn't pick and choose which laws they were going to enforce and which ones they were going to actually investigate, that would be a great idea. Look, this is why this issue is relevant to people, because every day you could spend hours trying to decide what emails to keep and how long you have to keep them. And what we find is the IRS doesn't follow those very same rules. And as people get more and more frustrated by the fact that they're following laws that the IRS is creating but not following, it only increases the amount of distrust that Americans have in their government.
In fairness, the IRS did say their computer crashed, which does happen, and there's no evidence to the contrary. I know you sound, I know it's skeptical, I know it sounds convenient.
No.
I know it's convenient.
In 2014, there are plenty of people who believe that there are backups out there somewhere.
There are. But, you know, she was supposed to, by law, they're supposed to physically print out manually every single email, which I guess nobody really does. But that's really the law. Can you imagine printing out every email?
But wait a minute.
But
you're saying that like it's no big deal. I mean, the fact of the matter is, if you or I are audited, darn tootin' sure we got to present those emails.
By the way, I'm not disagreeing with anything you're saying. I'm simply suggesting that there's really no evidence, despite the fact that it is very suspicious, and I agree with you on that, that she claims her computer crashed, and that's what happened. And, you know, unfortunately, you can't prove otherwise. And so before we say that she's guilty of something, let's just assume that, you know, take her at her word, give her immunity, see what she comes up with.
Why won't the IRS let people from the outside come in and figure out exactly how those systems crash?
It's a great question. And it has to raise additional concerns of today it's Lois Lerner and her emails. What's to say tomorrow it's not health care records, that all of a sudden the IRS says you didn't pay your taxes on not having health insurance and you have to go back and pay back penalties. And now you've got to go prove to the IRS that you've in fact actually had health insurance. You're not susceptible to the penalties and the interest. And now you've got to get legal counsel. You've got to get financial resources to defend yourself against an IRS. IRS that can't even keep emails. We're now going to have them administering the healthcare system.
You and I are 100% on the same page. This is an organization that puts the fear of God into every single American. All of us are terrified of being audited. I absolutely agree with you. The way this was conducted was not right. I'm simply suggesting that to say that this was some vast conspiracy, some vast left-wing conspiracy that Darrell Issa and others are saying, there's no evidence to suggest that.
Julie, there is no reason to believe that Lois Lerner did this by herself. She wasn't sitting at her computer saying, I'm going to, minus Chuck Grassley.
Well, doesn't that bring us full circle as to why we don't? But why doesn't that bring us full circle as to why everything is so suspicious and why we don't have all the answers yet? And I hope at some point we do get them. But it must be a Fox News alert, because you two agree to gay. And normally you don't. Great to see you. Got it right.
Bye-bye.